Hey carnivores, hey SB fam, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Bella the Steak and Butter Gal. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today's video, you guys are in for a very, very special treat. I totally had a fangirl moment when I first invited on Dr. Rimka, my guest, because I'm a huge fan of hers. She's a holistic brain optimization specialist, and she works with patients from all across the globe on addressing and identifying the root cause of mental illnesses, learning disorders, and chronic diseases. So she really works hard and does a fantastic job at putting out content, videos, Instagram live streams, just educating her viewers on how to optimize brain function, how to improve mental health, how to optimize vitality, and just be healthier. You guys all know that I host my 30-day carnivore challenges every single month. Well, guess what? Next month, the month of October, the challenge will feature Dr. Rimka as one of my guests, where she will answer all of your questions, the members who sign up for the challenge. So if you watch this video and you fall in love with everything she shares and you're intrigued and want to ask her more of your personal questions, feel free to sign up for my October 30-day challenge to attend her guest speaker meeting where you can ask her your questions. So without further ado, let me invite on my special guest, Dr. Rimka. Hi, Dr. Rimka. Welcome.
Hi, Bella. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I'm a huge fan. I love all of your information, content, and videos. Also, a lot of my followers absolutely adore you too.
I love hearing that because I have so many haters.
Actually, I would love to ask how you deal with haters, because as a carnivore page, I get that every single day.
I am sure there's a distinction between just the generalities of how women handle it versus men.
True.
I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm an empath, I'm highly intuitive, I'm sensitive. I access that and resource that for a living. It helps me help patients. So I love that I can read the room and the feelings and how hard I feel, because it helps me help people. However, in the social media landscape, even though the majority, right, 90, 95%, whatever, 98% is good and positive that comes back, that little bit that isn't, certainly it's hard on my system. And I see some of the big guys seem to not care, or they pretend that they don't care really well, or they almost even like the fighting and the arguing. And I think there is a masculine warrior energy around that. Yeah. And I made a baby and breastfed him, and I want to hold and cuddle and take care of everybody. I really don't want to fight. I really don't. Right. So I just do the best I can at this point. Sometimes I get caught up in the engagement. And then I'm like, I can't believe I didn't even respond to it. I can't believe I fell for it. I just now walk away. I do actually pay my staff to look at it a lot for me. And I will say, hey, I need you to go in on that thread. I can't look at it anymore. Reply to people. And I might need, now I've just leverage the block. I felt really bad about it though. I asked a couple of friends, and I think it's just a woman thing and maybe a boundary thing, or realize I want to help everyone. But I have said, done. That we've crossed the line, delete them. Yes. So, and which has been good, right? So I think sometimes you just gotta you can't look at it all the time, and you gotta just let it go. I'll engage for a while, and then after that, you guys are on your own.
Yes, that's what I do now. Because before I would reply and try to understand where they're coming from, but all they want is a reaction. They just want you to get mad or get angry or honestly get hurt. So I just don't reply.
I came to the same conclusion. It took a minute to realize it's like the family dinner and you're arguing with the person who's drunk. And that's not going to work. You just learn to say, you're right. I don't know why I was thinking. You're totally right. Yes, the earth is flat. I don't even know why I thought anything different. I agree with you.
Yes.
Because, an angry drunk and it's not safe. Right. So I fall for it sometimes, and I do put my foot in my mouth sometimes because I am human.
Yes.
And but I do the best I can. I just try to eventually say I can't see it.
Love it. I have a whole list of questions for you, and I do just want to cover as much information as possible for my viewers. And my viewers are carnivores, so they're hardcore carnivores. They love eating meat. They already get it. So I just want to know how you went from your whole life being vegetarian to suddenly realize eating meat is better for you. So what caused that switch to turn on?
I'm 48, so I'm a lot older than you, I assume, right?
Look great.
My mom was more like 4 basic food groups. That's what we did back then. So our plate always had meat. My mother was a meat eater, and she likes meat, and we always had a lot of meat. But we had a potato, mashed potatoes and green beans and
Yes.
super salad, something like that. But we always had a lot of meat. So this was how it was in the 70s. It wasn't kind of till later in the 80s that kids started getting like brownies and cookies for breakfast and cereals and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit older, so I had a good foundation. Of course, going off to college is where the kind of rolling you into, and I hate to say it, but like I was one, like the whole very liberal indoctrination of you've got to be a vegetarian, otherwise you're a murderer and you're killing the planet. So I fell for it, freshman 15 or whatever, and right. And so and so everyone's starting to become a vegetarian. Not really thinking you're going off to college and you're pounding beer and vodka on the weekends like crazy, and then having, pizza at 3 a.m. because you're high and drunk or whatever. But it must be the meats, right? So we all have to become vegetarians. I did 2 years of that. And then somebody threw a vegan pamphlet of showing tortured bunnies. And I started crying and had to run out of the college class. I mean, I was in the hallway, practically hyperventilating, feeling like the worst human on earth, that I was contributing to the mass torture of all these animals in the L'Oreal lab. And I didn't even wear makeup, but okay. Right. It's such an emotional, psychological warfare that makes no sense.
Right.
And I fell for it because I'm sensitive and kind, and I wanted, I want to be compassionate, and I don't want to kill the planet, and I don't want to torture bunnies.
Yes.
I came home and said, that's it. We're not eating any more meat. It can't come into the apartment. And I was 12 years a vegan.
Wow.
It was tough. And what happens is health goes down, you just start declining, but you can't let that be true.
Yeah.
So then you lie to yourself, and then you lie to others, and just all this cognitive dissonance. And because you're starving and thyroid is crashing and your brain fog is, you can't really think your way out of this at this point.
Yes.
I had many, many doctors telling me to stop, including a vegan.
Wow.
Yeah.
A vegan doctor or just a vegan? Oh,
he's a vegan doctor. So he was one of my professors in graduate school. Our head of nutrition department was a vegan. Paul Goldberg is his name. And he's a brilliant instructor. He's still alive. He practices here in Atlanta. He's no longer a vegan after 30 something years, but he believed in it deeply. He taught natural hygiene. And I really do appreciate he taught natural hygiene and kind of connected to nature, but yet there was still this perversion twist because they weren't going far enough back in history. If you look at nature in the last 10, 12,000 years, you think we're supposed to be agricultural farmers. That's the mistake. We have to go a little bit further back before that started. So anyway, he even said, how committed to this are you? I'm like, I'm super committed, and I don't even wear leather belts. And I was like that, like no leather belts. And I was intense.
Right.
And he's like, well, I don't think it's working for you. And it was within the first year.
Okay.
And I continued 11 more years with many doctors telling me. So it got to the point I got so sick. It was like early 30s. Things happen slowly and you don't really notice it, that you're not as smart. Your hair is falling out, your poop, I was gaining weight, but I still could be successful compared to other people just because I was pushing myself to extreme levels. Right.
Hard work.
But then I started not sleeping at night and having hot flashes. I'm like, I kind of complained about it. My friend who was 55 was like, honey, that's menopause. That's not normal. What's wrong? I'm telling you, your hormones aren't right. And several of them out of love didn't think it was good that I was a vegetarian, but they knew they couldn't preach or convert me because I wasn't having it. Because I could out-argue any of them.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, I'm a little too smart for my own good sometimes. So I went to the doctor. Finally, they checked. Thyroid was totally gone. Ovaries had shut down. They're like, you're in full-blown menopause. We need to replace estradiol, all your thyroid hormones, progesterone. You can't get pregnant. And I was crying. And it was a great endocrinologist who really met me with the spiritual conversation. He got me with that. He's like, I understand you're doing this for spiritual reasons and everything. And it seems to not make sense to you, but I really don't think any spirit, universe, or God wants you to be in this much pain and suffering. And they looked at my genetics and they said, you have celiac on top of it. I mean, you're from your Bengali Pakistani tribe. You guys can't have gluten. And all I ate was gluten and soy. They're like, you can't eat this. And they said, you're going to have cancer within 3 years if this, this isn't looking good. You shouldn't feel like this.
Right.
I think hearing that word, I said, I'll try it. I started with salmon. I figured, fish, right? I'm like, it's not furry. So I started eating the salmon and the thing. Within 3 days, it was like the way I describe it. If you ever saw The Wizard of Oz, which is probably my first or second favorite movie, where it suddenly went from a black and white world to a technicolor in color. I didn't even know how depressed I was. I didn't even understand how bad it had gotten.
Yeah.
And I just was like, everything changed. And I go, oh my God, I will never go back to eating that stuff again. Now, I made it all be about the gluten and the soy, which are really big problems. I still didn't connect it to the meat brought me back, right? Yeah. But it's both. It was really both. So I went on and I ended up getting pregnant within 6 months, which wasn't the plan. I was like, oh God, okay. Wow. So my son was built in a body that had a really hard time. So it was an extraordinarily hard pregnancy, but it was meat and fish that made that possible. And my son was a devourer of smoked salmon when he was a baby. Made total sense because he needed it, and he knew his brain needed insane amounts of it because I was on very shaky water. It was a very high risk pregnancy. 14 years of no meat, suddenly 6 months of it, and now everything started working again. I took so many pregnancy tests, Bella. I thought it was impossible. I was like, I thought you said it couldn't happen. I'm like, what's happening? Yeah, he's 15 now, and the whole pregnancy. So 16 some years ago, I started eating meat, and through all that, I just went more and more meat-based, more keto, and it landed me up as a carnivore.
And I thought I willpowered and pushed through it because I was vegan for 6 years, and I completely lost my period for 2 of those last years. And that's kind of my wake-up call. I was like, I want babies for sure. So if I don't have a period, that won't happen. My first food was egg. My gosh, I just came back to life. And you really don't realize how depressed or sad, unhappy you are.
You don't. You normalize it. For me, how it was, and I'd see all the vegans would be the kind of same way. And I did dog rescuing. So you all kind of have the same thing. People are mean and awful, and only animals are kind and loving. So I'm going to have 8 dogs, and they're my boyfriend and my girlfriend because, I don't want to date. This is true. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And then mean people suck, all that. And people are horrible. So you assume you have this filter that you see the world, that people are mean and people are bad. And I'm so different from that now, where it's almost unrecognizable.
I get a lot of DMs questions now from vegans who are actually questioning themselves, and they're like, but how did you start eating meat again? Because I feel so guilty. It's always the guilt that is the biggest hurdle to get over. So if you were in my position, what would you reply with in making them feel better to just eat the meat?
I go after stomach acid.
Okay. Because
it's really biochemical also where some of that guilt. So they're going to have horrible stomach acid. Okay. Having horrible stomach acid, it's not acidic enough. It makes you not want meat. It makes you nauseous from it. It makes it repulsive to you emotionally. Yeah. That also then ties in and makes it easy to feel guilty. I do show them tribal cultures because usually these same people are revering the Native Americans. They revere the Aboriginal tribes. They revere these people, these great spiritual lines. Who are all serious hunters. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is what they do. But before I do that, I actually try to help support their stomach acid. And when I do that with supplementation, they now want it. So as soon as they start to want it, interestingly enough, some of the guilt subsides.
It took me quite a long time to make the connection that the gut is very, very connected to how your brain functions, how you think, how you see the world, how your mood is. So when did you realize that it's actually from nutrition, from the gut first?
When I was in graduate school, so 25 years ago, I didn't go to allopathic. I'm not a physician. I went to chiropractic school. We aren't taught that the bullshit Western schools are taught. We aren't taught that you're disconnected and you need a drug. We aren't taught that at all. It's a very, very different way of looking at the human system. And we see it psychologically, emotionally. Nutrition's a part of all of our education. We get a lot of that. But the big aha was while I was in school, my nephew was diagnosed with autism. So my big sister needed my help. And she's like, Stephanie. I was like, oh, okay. She's like, can you help me? I'm like, yeah. So I had to suddenly, while in graduate school learning what I was learning, dive into autism and help manage that and find the right people and all these Dan doctors and neurofeedback, which led me down to the, GAPS diet with Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, and specific carbohydrate diet, and just all of that around autism, where you cannot get away from the gut that's involved, and then heavy metals and mitochondria and vaccine injury and just on and on and on. So all these doctors and geneticists trained me with my nephew. And then I started seeing patients, and they can't, you know what I mean? So I just mentored with people. It became like common sense to me. I mean, the two brains and how they work together. I don't take every child carnivore by any means. So the GAPS diet, if somebody's listening here with autism in their family or something like that, the first book you want to give them is Natasha's book, GAPS Diet, Gut and Psychology Syndrome. Okay. And that is it's extremely animal-based, but you leverage certain fruits and vegetables very, very specifically to do certain things. They have that's a damaged individual. You're looking at something has been done to them. They've been traumatized and poisoned. Yes. They are not born this way. Yes. So there's very different ways to leverage how to heal them. It's definitely not a general consensus, but there's a lot of reactivity to it. And certainly in the functional medicine circles that deal with autism, we're aware of oxalates for a very long time. We don't want any kids on spinach and things like that. That's been going on forever. Like, oh no, you can't have that. It's going to make them more anxious. It's going to cause a kid to have ADHD if you give them that. Yes. But that's not what most physicians know anything about. They would not even know what you're saying. The Terry Wall's diet, which is for MS, tons of vegetables and stuff like that. So I'm trained in that, certified in that. And I was doing a lot of that for MS patients. Mm-hmm. And I saw, though, that there comes a point where they can't do it anymore. And it's really, really hard to get. Everything has to be Vitamixed and all this stuff. And then they have a lot of bowel problems with MS. It becomes really, really painful and dangerous. Yeah. And as I started taking away the things that were hurting them, which were always the plants, they just got better and better. So I ended up inadvertently, prescribing and using a carnivore way of eating, which I didn't know that was a thing. Wow. But I'm like, well, it's with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, MS. I'm like, it's the only thing that doesn't hurt is meat and eggs. So that's all they would eat. And they're like, I feel great, doc. And I'm like, okay. And I was in my mind like, yeah, but we got to have some vegetables. So I would try to get it back in, and didn't usually go so great. I could patch them up with collagen and bone broth and CBD and glutamine. I'd be still, treating, and we get them all off no steroids anymore, no medications. And they kind of just taught me. In the back of my mind, I was worried, this can't be okay. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know like how many carnivore tribes around the world there really were. I was misinformed as well. Okay. But when you learn, oh, wait, there's all these cultures, they're carnivores, they're fine.
Yes. That is so cool that you can actually recommend carnivore to your patients, because truly that, I'm sure it helps so much.
Oh, tremendous. People say, extreme. I'm like, yeah, it is extreme, but it's a medical intervention. I mean, surgery is extreme, and none of you seem to have a damn problem with that. Yeah. Benzodiazepines are extreme. Opioids are extreme, but antibiotics are extreme. And yet y'all give them to your kids like they're candy. Yeah. So let's think about what the hell is really extreme. You give your kids pizza and brownies for breakfast. I mean, give me a break. Exactly. You know what I mean? So people have extreme problems, and we need some extreme interventions at times. And times I just leverage carnivore for a short period of time, and then we can open it back up to kind of keto if they want, because we have to look at what can that person or that family do long term.
What is a typical day of eating for you? I'm guessing you also eat organs. You do nose to tail carnivore style eating, right?
Yeah. Some organs people don't even realize, like sardines and anchovies. When you're eating small little fish, that counts as organ meat. Because you're eating everything. You're eating all the bones, you're eating all the organs, heart, brain, everything in there. I like the Carnivore Crisp, liver and beef heart. Liver and beef heart. Those are because of the two. I really love those. I'll eat pate, but I don't cook like liver and heart and kidneys and all that. I like chicken livers. I make those. Those are really tasty, just pan fried real fast. I like stuff really fast. Okay. I don't like to cook either. So, so I do like 90-day courses, a carnivore 90-day course. So I call it a 90-day reset. And I don't stress that you have to have all the bones and the broth and the organs. I'm like, it's 90 days, y'all. Like, let's just eat what you enjoy. It's really for mental health and a gut cleanse reset. And some people will choose to stay. like you can stay carnivore. And if you're going to do that, we've got to talk about glycine. We've got to talk about organs. We've got to get you more nose to tail. So this makes more sense and you're more balanced and that kind of thing. So that's how I do it. So typically I eat once a day, if I'm happen to be hungry, twice. I feel better if I can eat a little bit more because of my age and trying to be able to put muscle on. You know what I mean? I'm 48, so it's a little bit different than, right? So I got changes happening hormonally and time-wise. I'm like, I need more protein in my system. I want to hit that muscle signal more of mTOR. So if someone's cooking for me, I like to eat 2-3 times. I like to eat 3 times a day, but I just don't like to cook. I feel better. And that's just the truth of it. But so I supplement with essential amino acids. Where it's just like I take it 5 calories, no insulin spike. So I'm getting 30 grams of protein and just raw amino acids before I sauna, before I lift weights, and often before I go to bed. The older you get, it's all about sleep and repair. I mean, it's all about repair and generation. I'll be going home to Detroit this weekend and I'll be eating a lot because I'll be with family and you just eat more. And I'll say, when I go home, people, and whether carnivores don't like it and people want to shame me, I'm Indian. If my mom is 76 years old, I'm not going to get her curry forever. So if she makes curry, I'm eating it. That's like our Christmas meal. So she made curry and rice. So I had some rice with the curry and all, because it's a part of the thing. And this is like a major emotional family food that I'm not going to have forever. I eat it once or twice a year. So, and I have 0 reaction, 0 pain, all good to go. Right. So I can enjoy that family experience and appreciate my mother with gratitude with her chicken and egg curry.
You look absolutely fantastic for your age. I saw photos on your Instagram page, your before and after, your body now, and you just look so good. You mentioned you lift weights. Do you go hard in the gym, or is it really more about sleep and recovery and eating well?
I broke my back in college and blew some discs in a soccer game. And so a lot of my life at this point is always kind of recovering from that. And I re-injure myself a lot. So I used to be really aggressive and push myself and be in the gym 2, 3, 4 hours lifting weights. And I really like that actually. And I got pretty big. But, after I become a mother and what that was like, how hard the pregnancy was, I went for years of not working out at all and just really relied more on biohacking and like leveraging protein and timing and fasting and how to optimize growth hormone on myself and just good sleep. 6 years ago, this house that I'm in, I did a renovation that went awry. And after a year, my son and I were both getting really sick. And turns out bad crawl space renovation led to a lot of mold growth and we were both being poisoned. And it took a while for me to be able to remediate it. I got severely ill with mold, biotoxin illness, and I couldn't do anything. I mean, there was no more working out. I had to stop. It was eating through my nerves and my discs. I was in pain again, couldn't walk, couldn't run. I used sauna and heat and chelation and biohacking and lights and devices and PEMF and electricity and all kinds of things to keep it okay. But I am a huge fan of very heavy resistance training. I'm a huge fan of training towards mental and physical prowess and confidence and courage. I think women should be boxing and wrestling and learning, fighting. The brain benefits of grappling, the brain benefits of boxing. Boxing is so good for ADHD, yet everybody just wants to talk about yoga. Yoga is good for it too. Boxing's even better. But parents aren't signing up their boys for boxing left and right where they should be. And they certainly also should be signing up them girls for themselves. So cross-lateral movements like that and what that's doing to what the brain has to do to those complex movements is very, very, very different. Plus you can beat the shit out of somebody. And I'm sorry, but as a woman, we're always under threat of some beta male, soy boy, vegan lunatic of hurting me because they come after me hard. And I've actually had to put restraining orders on men that I'm like, you know what? Bring it. Let's do it. You watch what I'm going to do to you. So there becomes a confidence with that, with training and fighting and lifting that I think women need. They need to keep that testosterone up. Eating meat gets it there too, but you got to throw heavy shit around. And being carnivore, you want to throw stuff around. You're going to get to a point. I tell them like, what? Because I take them in and I say, just rest at first. Just eat. Don't work out like crazy, mama. You've been doing too much cardio. You're tired. You need to sleep. Chill out. And then suddenly they want to start throwing stuff. So, And I'm like, okay, now you're ready to hit the gym. So I use right now, I just started the X3 bar, the resistance.
Oh, yes, I heard of that.
I like it. It's weird, but I like it.
I know a lot of carnivores, they're very high ambition type of people. I personally am like that. And I always get called a workaholic, right? People just say, you're just always working, always wanting to do more, always being super ambitious. And I'm like, I think that's a compliment. But I do understand that resting and sleeping is very important. And I know a lot of new carnivores, they come into this diet and they're like, wow, I can't sleep anymore. I can't even fall asleep, or I wake up all the time. So what is going on there, and how can we optimize sleep and rest?
Okay. So there's several things there. That's kind of a big question. So in general, you're right. A certain type, a biochemical type is drawn to this, and it's for a good reason. The same way the same biochemical type was drawn to CrossFit and paleo. It's the same type of group, and we've just moved into carnivore. Okay. It's just a little bit of graduation. And so in the orthomolecular psychiatry world, we would say those are low methylators, and you're right. It is a complement. So methylation is a big topic, MTHFR, COMT, CBS, and people will talk about all the time, glutathione, all this people, what is it? We won't get into it too much, but basically there are slight genetic variations in all of us that create a little bit of a different biochemistry among people. And it gives you, biochemistry is emotional and personality. Right. So dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, all this stuff, and histamine levels and glycine levels, these dictate personality, and they control if a person is ambitious or not, competitive or not. All right. So a small percentage of people are something we would call low methylators. All low methylators, under methylators all look pretty similar. I'm one. We're highly competitive, highly successful, overachieving, perfectionistic, slightly anxious, maybe leaning towards OCD because we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done right. Ain't nobody doing this good of us. Watch it. Get out of my way. I'm doing it. Right. We're aggressive. We're competitive. We're all doctors mostly are that. CEOs of companies are that. Professional athletes are like that. David Goggins is the classic epitome of what a high achieving, all military Navy SEALs. You want every surgeon on earth to undermethylate, because you want them to be perfectionistic, anal, obsessively driven to be good at their job because they're cutting into you. Right. You want your contractor undermethylating. You want your housekeeper undermethylating. Right. We're very used to details. We're self-driven. We're self-motivated. The downside of that is you can become a little too anxious. You can become too competitive. You can become too perfectionistic. You can become obsessive compulsive, diagnosable. You can have an eating disorder. You can become chronically depressed and suicidal because you're never good enough. You're never going to make it. You're never meeting up to your own standards. And this just sucks. Okay. So there's a line in there. That's CrossFit. Right? Everybody in CrossFit's a lunatic, highly competitive. They're playing to win. That's the whole point, not play to play. Who cares? Keep score. We're definitely keeping score. Right? Other people are like, oh my God, you guys are so neurotic. Right? Then you have this overmethylation group. They're laid back, they're creative, they're empathic. They don't do any of that stuff. They don't want to be like that. And we're never going to flip people. We want to keep you balanced into what you are, right? These people like me and you, of course, we end up being drawn because what we need is a lot of methyl donors. People like us going vegetarian is a total nightmare. We will get way more depressed. So the vegetarians who do okay and well, they got to take some supplementation. They're the overmethylators. So they need all these folates to demethylate them, and they're okay with it. Us, if we don't get methionine, which is an amino acid highly found in animal meat, we fall apart. It's a methyl donor. Glycine also balances 50% of that methylation. So by eating all that meat, we suddenly have enough methyl groups to methylate again. So if I'm treating a patient, I have to give them a supplement, L-methionine. I have to give them SAMe. This is all just stuff that you get from meat. We have to give them carnitine. We got to give them B vitamins. We got to give them B12. I mean, this is all what you get from eating meat and eggs. So That's where it's coming from. It's from this group that has Dave Asprey low methylates. Anybody you see that's doing like this next level biohacking, they're all low methylators. So it doesn't mean you're mentally ill. It just means you have this type. We must learn to calm down, though. We have got to learn that there can be dirty dishes in the sink and take your ass to bed. Versus like, oh no, I can't rest. And then these people, you watch them, they get up and they just had to clean everything. Send the super high histamine. Histamine goes really high when you can't methylate, and it's a neurotransmitter. It makes you anxious and it makes you have to get up and do stuff all the time. And it can lead to eating disorders and stuff, right? So that's why we feel better, because we get more methyl groups, methionine, than we needed for a long time. Learning to meditate, learning to rest. The meditation, I think, for low methylators is a non-negotiable. I've been meditating for 25 years. I think you've got it. I think everybody should be doing it, but certainly type A driven perfectionists, you have to, or you might drive yourself crazy, and you drive yourself into anxiety and panic and depressive disorders because you're so off balance. You've got to learn vagal tone exercises. You've got to do things that around breathing or gargling, throat, humming, singing. All of these are vagal tone. It's also why we like deliberate cold exposure, cold therapy, cold plunging. It activates vagal tone, calms you the fuck down, basically. Low methylators need to eat a lot of meat and do a lot of relaxation. So if you're still being driven and you're on carnivore and you're still kind of like that you're not as more chilled out, I'm going to look to glycine. I'm going to say, are we getting enough cartilage, collagen, bone broth? Because glycine is going to buffer like 50% of methylation. So sometimes there's just too much methionine, too much coming in, and we don't have enough glycine. You might need to go a little bit more nose to tail. Then I would say, I might supplement glycine at night so they can sleep. Okay, 3 grams at night. I might start with that. Drink bone broth, take some glycine. Let me see if I can change that serotonin melatonin relationship. And then I would say we're bringing meditation and vagal exercises on board, because you have to learn to turn it off. Right. But I'd be checking for that and what their histamine levels are and that kind of stuff. But the community is into that. So we've got to learn, our Achilles heel is learning. We have to learn how to rest, or we'll burn ourselves out.
Absolutely.
I definitely end up doing that all the time. And when I'm burnt out, and I know I'm burnt out, I just keep pushing through the burnt out phase and just keep going.
You've got a biochemical hiccup. You need to adjust.
Yeah.
So when you say vagal exercises, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so the vagus nerve, right, goes from up here. It's a cranial nerve. It's called the wanderer. So it comes all the way down to your face and goes and does everything. I can't control, you can't do anything with your liver or your pancreas, your gallbladder, but you can control your lungs and you can control the throat and the face. So chewing gum actually activates the vagal nerve a little bit, actually can calm you down. Anything with your throat. So humming, chanting, singing. It's why the type of meditation I almost always recommend is chanting, is focused So a person like you be like, I can't slow down my brain. I said, no, you can. It's called focused concentration. I like malas. You get an actual beat. I don't have any of mine in here. So it gives the system something to do. And you're singing and chanting sacred words. I always do everything in Sanskrit, but you can use English. Rosaries are the Catholic version of this, where you're going through a bead and you're repeating the same thing over and over. That in and of itself is meditative. Meditation doesn't need to be, you have to sit there. You can walk a labyrinth and be in meditation. So doers, methylators, I say, I want movement. I like walking labyrinth as a meditation. And I like focused meditation where you're singing just that, right? Just doing that 5 times a day. The other thing you can do, gargle 3 times a day, 1 minute, really hard. Take warm salt water, hard as you can. Some of you won't be able to go a whole minute because these will be really weak. Activates the vagus nerve like crazy. Okay. Breath work activates the lungs. So when you breathe, like if I'm going to fight somebody, I suddenly, it's a very short inhale, exhale. When I'm resting and digesting, I'm breathing out longer than I'm breathing in. So like if I breathe in for a 4 count, I want to breathe out for a 5 or a 6 count. right? So box breathing is an exercise we do where you breathe in for 4 and hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, hold it for 4. So it's even breathing, and you do that. So that breathing exercises that are parasympathetic activate the vagus nerve from these other things, and then it switches the brain off. There's also body movements. I post these things on my YouTube that you can take yourself through different positions and different movements, and it instantly changes your heart rate variability, makes you coherent, brings the left and right hemispheres of the brain together, brings you back online, and calms you down. These are not hard things. You just need to know what to do, and you need to practice them when you're not stressed out. So you'll be able to bring them in system when you're stressed. But very, very simple things.
Whoa. I do really want to ask you this last question. I really look up to you, how badass you are, always just getting stuff done, putting out content, practicing, also being a mother. So what is your secret to being so productive and yet so put together and just so amazing?
You know, it's so funny because people say, it's like they go, you're always, I guess it looks like I am working a lot, right? Part of it is probably that little calendar up there. So that calendar, I prioritize a lot of rest. It's on my calendar. So I schedule myself, and I schedule in meditation, visualization. That's a newer thing. I used to think I had to pound it in, and it's the kind of maturity of saying, nah, I work my schedule to put myself in flow state as much as possible. So when I can go in the flow state, obviously in 2 hours, I can do what would have taken me 10 hours to do. Now, do I get there every day? No. Right. And I have days where I'm completely out of flow and it took me 10 hours and I barely got anything done. That happens as well. Right. But I think it's that I prioritize feeling good and getting into flow before I do something. So I actually do the opposite of what a lot of people would maybe say, is do the thing you don't want to do first. I don't do it. I make sure I do what I want to do, and I'm in a good space and I'm feeling great. Now I go do the thing that sounds hard or I kind of don't want to do, because it totally shifts how I approach it and how my brain can access it. And I can be much more creative and I can just get it done. People say, oh, aren't you all drained after 12 hours in the office? That's all you're hearing is suicide and bipolar suicide. Am I drained? I'm like, no, I'm actually so on fire because I'm so grateful for my life and what I get to do and what I saw today. It doesn't drain me at all because I have good boundaries in place. I know what I can do. I know what my staff is doing. I don't do anything I don't want to do. If cleaning your toilets is fun for you, do it. If you hate it, pay for it to be done. Yeah. So then it made me a better mother. It made me, and I would say I'm present with whatever I'm doing when I'm doing it. I do not multitask. Wow. If you're parenting, be a parent. Don't be on your phone. Don't be trying to work. Don't be trying to Zoom. It's done. I'm with him. Then when I'm working, I'm working. You know what I mean? Then I'm present. So I'm not distracted. I'm not being pulled in many places. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm giving it my all so I can do the best I can.
Excellent advice. Wow. Amazing. Well, Dr. Rimka, thank you from the bottom of my heart so much for spending this hour with me and sharing everything you know. Where can people find you? Let's say they want to get in touch with you, work with you, or just want more of you. Where can they find you?
Well, I still like an old-fashioned website. So I got an old-fashioned website. It's brainandbodysolutions.com or drrimka.com. You can get to all my social media there. I'm mostly Instagram and Facebook at this point. And you can find out about my courses there. I have a whole e-learning center, and you can find out about my retreat. I have a carnivore retreat to South Africa next year. Yeah, so you can find me about 6 spots left for that. Actually, I'm taking patients after a 3-year hiatus. You couldn't see me, and I'm opening back up. So that is possible as well.
All links of Dr. Rimka's will be linked down below in the description box. Thank you, Dr. Rimka.
Thank you, Bella.
If you made it this far in the video, I want to thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed and found value in this conversation that I shared with Dr. Rimka. Again, she will be one of my guest speakers visiting my October 30-day challenge. So if you are looking for a community to help you and keep you accountable to get back on track or to even just start carnivore, I am here for you with my challenges. You will get to speak with me, get guidance and advice from all the carnivore coaches that work alongside me in my team. And of course, you will also get to attend all guest speaker meetings and Dr. Rimka will be one of the October guests. For more details on what time these meetings are and what else this challenge includes, click the link down below to read more on it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on those bell notifications to not miss my future videos. I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. SVG out.